I want to touch on a subject that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Time travel is one of them. Hauntings is another one, and supernatural experiences in general is one thing that I want to talk about. And I'm gonna like later on this going, talking ethics behind it. I guess those things are two different things. Um, I believe that time travel is possible, and I believe that anybody can create this experience to where you're literally traveling either backwards in time or you're being pushed forward in time. Now, I believe that either you yourself would have to have a powerful enough mind. This is
Mom, my
what the chair.
stomach hurt.
It hurt, baby. Your food, you ate too fast.
Yeah.
You drink that water. Come on. As spirit, it just randomly goes slow sometimes. I believe that we do it all the time and we don't even know it. For example, when you do a love reunion spell, when you think about returning something and going back, okay? When you think about going back, in my opinion, that is a form of time travel. And I think that, you know, metaphysical practitioners, whatever you, the problem is that what if you travel back to a, what if this was a extremely difficult time for you and you were taken back to that moment in time that made you feel very uncomfortable? And why would spirit, I think that the reason why is so that you can learn something from the experience. That could be a possibility, or it could be a negative thing. I believe that people can take you back into time when you were probably not as ascended as you are now, which is a painful, frustrating experience. This is the reason why there's a lot of people they don't ever go backwards, and I don't blame them. In particular, when you're looking at relationships, there's a general rule, and I had heard people talking about this, but you never go back. You always go forward. Going back can be disastrous. And I don't believe people should go back. I think if you need to go back and maybe right a wrong, then that is different. But I think that when it comes to, going back to a space and time and frame of mind that you did not like, that you were actually very resistant to, that you were trying to get away from. For example, let's say that you grew up in a very, very bad area or very, very bad neighborhood where there were people constantly being killed, there were people constantly fighting, and it was just chaotic. And when you travel back to that space in time, it starts to become familiar to you and you want to get out of it. But then sometimes you can get stuck. I think this is how people tend to live in the past. And I feel like sometimes it's being done to them against their will. When you see people that are just because I see a lot of people that are living in the past. And like 3 or 4 years ago on this channel, by the way, I just put up 12 new videos. YouTube is not sending out my notifications for some reason. And so I uploaded like 3 or 4 pick a piles too, just in case you guys didn't realize that. I come on here and I speak about I speak spiritual lessons as well because I am also a teacher. Okay, and years ago I did readings. It's a tarot spread called the Time Travel Spread. And I believe that there is an aspect of yourself in the past that still exists, which is what makes time travel possible. It's almost like a continuum, if that's what that means, if I'm getting the wording proper. But it's almost like a space time continuum to where even though you're in the that's still in the past. And when you travel forward in the future, when you think about the present, I feel that there is the future or to your future. And then there's always this energy that's pulling you back. And I think that being pulled back, being sucked back, is a lot more easier than pushing forward sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Which is why, for some reason, my spirits, when I write out petitions for cleanses, I always make sure that I put in there that the person is going to move forward to a better reality because your past, it could be dictating your future, but it all depends on what you're doing in the present. And then I also believe that that aspect of yourself in the future, you can exist in different realities. So depending on, which decision you make, or, what you're visualizing, what is in your vision at that moment, you could be moving towards a good reality or a bad reality in the future. I feel like your spirit is always giving you warnings. So I think I'm going to do some time travel spreads today because those are really interesting, because it is a way for your future and your past self to talk to yourself in the present. And I think that this is very important for people who want to move on and move beyond their situation. I think that time travel and knowing those aspects of yourself is not just about past life. A lot of people focus on past life. I feel that we should start focusing on future life. Y'all notice how we always talk about past life, past life transgression, past life transgression. You should not allow your past to take over. And whether or not you were unhappy at some point in the past, or whether or not you were happy in the past, I feel like you can create an even better future in the future based upon what you were able to manifest for yourself in the past, because you were able to do it then. So why wouldn't you be able to do it now? Why wouldn't you be able to create a better reality for yourself in the future? And I think that this is what practitioners and witches, I believe that as a practitioner and as a witch, this is what we have tapped into. Okay. And I think it's important for us to understand that, especially when, for example, I am very, very careful about, and you know what, spirit will always let me know. I am very, very careful about who I perform love spells for. Because, in a sense, when you're doing love spells, or when you're doing lover return to me spells, you are pushing and pulling, you are pulling that person back to a place where they may not have wanted to be. And maybe at that time that they were with you, their mind space could have been in a place where they did not want it to be. So this is the reason why love spells, in my opinion, they're like a 50-50 shot, in my humble opinion. This is after years and years of doing work and having experience at it. Okay. And so that's why I want you guys to think about and explore what was it that that person was going through at that time, and what were they dealing with at the time that they were with you. Were they dealing with a lot of stuff that was difficult? Were they dealing with a lot of stuff that was hard? And when they were, when they were with you, it was something about the relationship with you that pushed them forward. And maybe they were pushed away from you. And maybe that was just sort of fate. Fate sort of happens like that. And if you end up traveling back or being sucked back in, because I think it's easier to get sucked back into the past, especially if it's very negative, because negative energies are very powerful. We see negative energies manifesting every single day. The channels that talk about negativity, they get more views. When I was talking about negative stuff this morning, there was 30 something people watching. So I think that now us as in general, as a spiritual race. I don't even like to say human race anymore, but as a spiritual race, okay, I think that some of us are moving ahead quicker than others. And I think that it's important for you to drop any kind of jealousy that you have in the present. Let all that jealousy and anger go. And then that is how you can start to move forward, and you can more so focus, because everything is coming from your mind. So for example, you can actually manifest things a lot quicker if you think of it. And I think that because this morning I was meditating, and it was the first time that I was able to meditate in like over a week. And not being able to meditate is devastating for somebody like me, because I have to meditate because there's certain things that I do. And I do astral travel. And there's certain things that I do. I don't really, I've talked about it before. For example, a lot of you guys that are on the same page as me, you guys need to learn the technique that Spirit has taught me. Okay? There's an actual technique for you to do certain things, for you to travel places and bring certain energies or angels or help, or just energies. So, for example, this morning when I meditated, I went and I meditated way up there. I was way up there beyond Earth. And it's not drugs. You don't do it with drugs. Drugs don't do that for you. Okay, just to let you guys know, it's just something that you're able to do with your mind. And what I was able to do was I was able to bring help down here, because I felt like really dreadful, and I felt something bad was gonna happen. I'm telling you guys, every time I say something bad is gonna happen, it happens every single time. And I always come back and say, see, I told you guys this bad was gonna happen. I didn't make the bad happen. Somebody else did. But then again, maybe there was not enough that was done to prevent that bad thing from happening. So for me, I feel that some of us, especially if you are an incarnated angel, you have a gift where you can actually travel up to deploy other angels to come down and help when things get really bad. You know how you can tell when things get really bad is when it's like you're in a tunnel, and this is time travel, so this is very relevant. It's like you're in a tunnel, and you can see light on both ends of this tunnel. And one end of the tunnel is the past, and the other end is the future. And you can actually get stuck either in the present or either in the past. Okay, you can get stuck there, and it's really uncomfortable. So like for example, I think that like I can personally feel something trying to pull me back in time to put me at a certain place when I was at a certain mind frame, because when I was in that certain mind frame, I couldn't do half of the stuff that I can do with my mind right now. So when you think about it, there could be an enemy from the past that definitely could be demonic or spiritual or a spirit that could constantly want to pull you back there because you're doing too much. You're doing too much in the present, and that negativity, that entity can see that you're headed towards the reality in the future that you want, and that's why it pulls you back. I know that what was extremely traumatizing for me as a child, which is probably why I got a YouTube channel. Okay. It was extremely traumatizing for me as a child to not be heard. It was devastating to my spirit. I used to sit there and I used to think, what am I worth? Does anybody love me? Does anybody care about me? Why is no one listening to me? And, going back to that, it made me very angry to where there was something else that was saying one thing, but the truth was another thing. And the truth was not being spoken, a lie was being spoken. And as much as I spoke about it and spoke about it, um, it was so bizarre because I feel like demons, they, they have knowledge of this. And then there's also even, certain elite, elitists, they are very sound in physics and science and stuff. And so they understand how to put you exactly where they want to put you in your frame of mind, because your mind is doing everything. And the experience was so uncomfortable that I felt that a spirit took me back to when I was about 6 years old. It took me back till I was about 6 years old, and I had a traumatizing experience. And the situation was exactly that. It was exactly the traumatizing thing that happened to me at the age of 6. And the funny part about it is that Jacob is 6 years old. So I think that sometimes when we have children, depending on their age, we could start to experience, past life memories or transgressions to where you're being pulled back into that situation. But anyway, it must have been something that I blocked out of my mind at the age of 6, and it did involve sex, okay, probably even molestation or rape. And it was this person that did, sexually assault me. But then when I tried to speak about it, nobody would listen to me, nobody would understand me. And I think that that is really devastating when people don't listen to you. This is the reason why I try to listen to everything that Jacob tells me, like everything. Try to listen to it very closely because I don't want him to ever think that I'm ignoring him or that I'm not taking him seriously, because, this aspect of my upbringing, which is considered past life trauma, it devastated me. And I'm just now realizing that this is a trigger, and this is something that I need to deal with and learn more about. So for example, like when having those experiences, you can literally be screaming in the middle of the room and nobody will hear you. They'll all focus on who's bigger than you for reason. And I think that we have those experiences, and I think that some people are experiencing this every single day over and over and over again because they continuously talk about the same things over and over and over again. And if you are somebody that's able to move forward and say, hey, I'm ready to move forward, it bothers people that you're not still traumatized from your past. So I've even seen people try to recreate the past. So that happens as well. That's kind of the moon card. But I think that when it happens and when it's a situation where you can't help, where you can't stop it, I believe that it's a spiritual reason behind it. And I believe that you can quickly get yourself back up to where you need to be or where you want to be. In fact, you can actually take a leap forward and do a jump, almost like, a slingshot where you pull it back and then you let it go. So I think that sometimes you can take those experiences and use them for your advantage and use that energy to push you forward and to sort of push you forward in time. And it's not like the date is going to change, but I feel like things can happen quicker. So properly having an understanding about why a traumatizing experience is happening to you, and knowing what to do about it, knowing what you can do about it. So I believe that time travel, because I found myself, and you know what, I think it's positive. Where I'm at now, I've been, and ever since the car been down, because I'm not even gonna talk about the plans on that because people are always listening. But yes, I do want a new car though, and I'm gonna get it. I don't have to hide what I want from people. That's a form of fear. Okay, if you feel that you can't tell people what it is that you're doing or what it is that you want or what it is that you're working for, and you feel as though those people can stop you, that's a subconscious blockage. So just saying, just keeping that stuff in. But it's actually a positive thing because I've been walking everywhere and just getting into shape. So, sometimes you can travel back to a space and time and you'll be thinking, oh my God, every time I try to get 2 steps forward, they pull me back. And so what you'll want to do is make the best of whatever past life transgression or past, situation transgression that you are having, making the best of it and being able to start from that place and then being even stronger as you push forward. Does that make sense? So for example, if you feel like, oh God, I had a house and something happened and then I had to go into a hotel. This is the reason why hotels are there. This is the reason why people live in hotels. In fact, my tow truck driver was very interesting. He was a Libra, by the way. He was talking to me about how he's been staying in hotels because of his record. And he was saying that he was, looking for, somebody that was willing to rent to him because he had something on his record. And so um, a lot of people do look at your past and they try to determine your future. But you can't allow people to do that because that is something that you have to gain control of. You can't technically allow other people to dictate your future, but and see, that's not what these readings are about. Some people think that I am on here dictating people's futures, and that's not what I'm doing. Okay, that's up to God and your ancestors with everybody. Readings. In order for you to have to go back because there's businesses and they live in hotels. When you think about it, people that talk about that as if that's a negative, They're being dishonest because it's actually not a negative. If you traveled in time from a situation that did not serve your divine purpose and you knew it, you knew you were stuck there and you had to leave that situation so that you could break free, and no matter where you're at, which I would prefer for it to be a hotel because I don't like to live with people, okay? Wherever you're at, that is an opportunity for you to move forward. And then whatever situation that you had to travel back, because people feel like, oh, I feel like I'm going backwards, I'm not getting ahead. So a lot of people would think that staying in a hotel is a negative, right? Well, it's not a negative, it's actually a positive, because that is your starting point. That's where you're getting off the ground. Okay. And spirit will make you much stronger, when you're in that situation. Speaking of my own situation, when I first moved to Georgia in 2015, I was literally like a little Red Riding Hood. Okay, I was in an unfamiliar place with all these big bad wolves, and I wasn't scared. I was actually excited. But I remember when I first got here, I was so dependent on housing assistance and stuff like that, which people kind of get angry when you talk about that. But I'm not saying that as a negative. Take it as a positive, because I can show you a roadmap to break free of those things. Okay. But I remember when I first got here and I was staying with family, and spirit pushed me away from that. And then I had to call my father, and my father had to pay for my hotel. He paid for my extended stay for a couple of weeks that I lived at in Decatur. And you know, at that time, I was very codependent on certain things, but certain entities, you're pushing, because I could sense it, but and I know exactly who it is. Oh goodness. So when you work on yourself, that's really the only thing that you can do. That's really the best course of action. But you know, uh, I guess I could have perceived it as going backwards, but in reality, that's not the way that it is. Now that I'm in a hotel, I can pay for it. You know what I'm saying? Which is totally different from where I was at 5 years ago. Because previously I had nothing. When I came to Georgia, I had 60. I probably had $100 in my pocket, and I was still drawing unemployment from the state of Kansas. Okay, so and the unemployment ran out. So figuring out why you're dealing with the situations that you are dealing with is really important. And don't ever let people get you sucked back in a time frame. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Real friends and real family and people that love you, they are going to accept your ascension. They are going to accept that you're growing up. They are going to accept that you are evolving as an adult, and you're getting older and you're getting more mature. I know that there's a lot of people that have families and stuff, and they're still calling them by their old nickname, from when they were a child. I know that my nickname, my family called me that for years until I was in my 20s. And then finally I said, don't call me by that name. That's a childhood name. I think everybody goes through that. Don't call me by my name. That's a childhood name. I'm an adult now. And, because an adult is an adult. And sometimes, and what I've noticed is people, it's almost like into the womb, which is not good. Because you've already, I mean, it's good for you to take a bath. A bath is the recreation of the womb. But when you take a bath, you have a certain intent in that bath. Okay. I know that I set my intent when I take my baths. I don't know about anyone else. Sometimes I just do it to relax, bring myself to a meditative state so that I can meditate. That's one of the reasons why people have good results out of taking those baths because you're able tense, coming out of the body, and your body is able to where I learned to never go backwards. And so this is the reason why I don't get back. I ate all these burgers. You ate all of it? Good baby, good boy. This is one of the reasons why I don't go back to exes. Once I leave you, once it's over for good. I keep moving forward. But there are some people that have a tendency to just keep going back and keep going back and keep going back. It's your choice. But for me, I prefer to move forward. So I think that time travel and understanding that you as a spiritual being, you are time traveling. That's important for you to look at that too, because a lot of people will think, oh my God, it feels like things are slowed down when you are having a past life regression. Things do seem slowed down because it's not normal. When you go back, time slows down. When you go backwards, it does. When you go forward, time sort of resets itself and it catches up with itself when you start moving forward. When you're moving backwards, the clock is going backwards. It's going counterclockwise. When you're moving forward, it's going clockwise. Okay, created ourselves, which is why time even exists in the first place, because we created it. We created it by looking at the sunrise and set, and that's how we originally were able to calculate time, was by the sun. We were always able to calculate time by the sun. And we didn't know exactly, we didn't have set times, but we knew it was morning time because the sun came up. And we knew it was nighttime because it went down, and then we could see the moon. And so getting a grip on time is very important. As a matter of fact, last year I was doing a lot of work on myself so that people couldn't mess with my timeline. Because people will try to steal your time, especially if you're somebody that's moving forward. And then as those people are stealing your time, which is what the whole campaign, waste her time. See, the evil demons, they do things to us. And I remember last year it was all about waste her time 2019 and waste his time 2019. I don't know if y'all remember that hashtag, but that was a very, like, a lot of people take it for granted when you think about it. Waste her time. Waste. You see what I'm saying? So, this could be somebody that's stealing your time, and time is energy. You know what I'm saying? Time is energy as well. So if somebody's able to steal your time, then they're able to steal your energy. So I think it's something that we need to think about. And like I said, I am going to do the time travel readings because I did them. I haven't done them in like 2 or 3 years, but the last time I did them, people loved them. Okay. And so check those out when I get those put up. In the meantime, that's what I wanted to talk about with as far as that is concerned. I'm going to go and leave the comments section open for those of you that are watching the playback. I'm going to leave the comment section open so that you can put in your commentary. Okay. And then I even want to talk about all things spiritual a little bit later this afternoon. I'm going to come and we're going to get on spiritual stuff only. Okay. That's what we want to focus on this channel. This is a spiritual channel. And, this is what we're here for. Okay. And so I will see you guys later. Have a happy Tuesday. Love and light.